Grandma Irene used to say the North was held up by three things: faith, the railroad, and whatever the government preferred to forget. When the labor camp shut down, the rail spur that fed it was torn up and left to rot. And when the rail died, the towns along it died too. The branch line split from the main Dominion line sometime in the 1930s. It didn't appear on public maps. It ran south into Muskeg country to a remote correctional work camp known simply as Mile 33. The guards lived in a small service town called Gray Hollow, but Irene and her husband Walter chose to settle farther downriver in a fishing hamlet along the broad Blackwater River. They are still there. The river is thinner now. The camp is gone. The rails are half buried in moss. Gray Hollow is empty. Only 3 people remain in the village: Irene, Walter, and an aging neighbor named Arthur Cole. The boreal forest has been swallowing everything for decades. Boardwalks sink, roofs collapse. Station 33 has retreated into the trees as if ashamed of itself. The North forgets quickly. Walter still fishes the Blackwater, though there's less to catch each year. Lately, the fish have been wrong. Blind carp, whitefish with bone growths bulging from their skulls. Once he hauled up something nearly transparent, its ribs visible through gelatinous flesh, no eyes at all. Irene made him burn it, and he did. Because beyond the river, where the peat bogs begin to breathe blue at dusk, something stands, or used to. The Black Chapel. In the early 2000s, they began arriving. Urban explorers, abandonment photographers, students with rented jeeps and expensive cameras. They came to document dead towns. Their route always passed through Gray Hollow and the remains of Mile 33. The barracks still stood then, rotting but intact. Filing cabinets spilled yellow documents across damp floors. Rusted bunks collapsed inward. A chapel shed once used by inmates had burned down decades ago. Decay fascinated the visitors. They always stopped at Irene's cabin. Curiosity, mostly. 3 elderly people living at the end of a dead railway line. That alone was worth a photograph. One autumn evening, 3 of them came for supper. 2 young men and a woman named Claire Bennett. Claire was the one who asked the question. "What do you know about the Black Chapel?" Walter denied it immediately. There had never been a chapel in the bog. The nearest church was 50 miles north. But Claire had done her research. From her backpack, she produced a photocopy of an 1866 court transcript. Handwritten, elegant script, the language archaic but legible. A farmer named Gregory Svarn had been convicted of murdering a parish priest on the church steps. He claimed robbery. Nothing had been stolen. He was sentenced to life labor in the Northern Territories. 13 years later, he returned, alive, and changed. Witnesses described him as blackened, not by soot but by something deeper. His skin dark as peat, beard grown wild to his eyes. He slept in ravines, scavenged at market edges. People avoided him, said his eyes were wrong. In the 1880s, rumors spread of a structure rising deep in the boglands beyond an abandoned settlement called Bracken Ford. Not a house. A 3-story building made from driftwood, petrified trunks and packed earth. No nails, no glass. Black from foundation to roof. Crooked beams buttressed the sides like broken ribs. Mud streamed from the cupola. And at the top, instead of a cross, a twisted root clawed at the sky. The locals called it the Bog Chapel. Few saw it up close. Those who did said the air felt wrong. Birds fell silent. Light dimmed unnaturally. Thoughts turned sour. And at night, they claimed, a bell rang. A deep, slow tolling. From nowhere. Walter had heard those stories as a boy. Everyone in Grey Hollow had. But he told Claire none of that. He said it was folklore, nothing more. Claire did not believe him. Lieutenant Daniel Poole arrived at mile 33 in the winter of 1979. He was 30 years old, educated, soft-spoken, too intelligent for the posting, people said. He had transferred from Port Grey after policy disagreements with his superiors, though no one ever explained what that meant. He took command of the camp guard unit that spring. Daniel spent his weekends fishing the Blackwater River, trying to escape the sight of barbed wire and watchtowers. That's how he met Walter and Irene. He admired Walter's stubborn independence, the way he still trusted his hands more than any government report. And Irene saw in Daniel the son she had never had. Back then, the river was healthy. The fish were whole. The rails still shone in the sun. The north had not yet begun to rot. Escapes were rare at mile 33. There was nowhere to go. North led back toward civilization. South led into muskeg that swallowed moose whole. Still, one October night, 2 inmates vanished before lights out. Hardened men. Violent records. Not the desperate kind who ran blindly into the forest. Daniel waited until dawn before assembling a search unit. He didn't want the incident recorded before he understood it. They followed the rail line south until it ended in rust and weeds. From there, they moved into the forest in teams of 3. Daniel chose the route a rational fugitive would take, toward the shallower stretch of the Blackwater, where old bridge pilings still jutted from the bog near Bracken Ford. They found signs of a campfire near the collapsed bridge supports. Fresh. Daniel felt relief. They weren't far. Then the forest changed. The birds stopped. Not gradually, instantly, as if someone had lowered a needle off a record. The light dimmed, though the sky was clear. The peat underfoot felt warmer than it should have. Daniel told himself it was pressure in the ears. Barometric shift, gas pockets rising from the bog. But he wanted to cross himself. He didn't. He pressed forward. They found them in a clearing. One man lay dead. The other sat upright in the moss beside him. He had strangled his companion, packed peat mud into the corpse's ears, packed it into his own. And he was singing, or trying to. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Slow, measured, like a tolling bell. He did not respond when Daniel approached. His eyes were open, fixed, reflecting nothing. They carried him back, bound and silent. He never regained coherence. Within weeks, he was transferred to a psychiatric facility in Port Grey. That night, Daniel came to Walter's cabin. He removed his coat slowly, sat heavily. "I went back," he admitted. Walter stiffened. "Back where?" "To the clearing." He had returned alone days later. Scientific curiosity, he claimed. Environmental explanation. Methane pockets. Acoustic anomalies. Psychological contagion. He found nothing. No bodies. No clearing. No sign they had ever been there. Only trees. And peat. And silence. "But I heard something," Daniel said. Walter felt the cold enter the room. "What?" Daniel hesitated. "A bell. Not loud, not near, but somewhere deep in the fog. A slow toll." Walter did not tell him about the legend then. He should have. Daniel Poole disappeared in February. He had visited the psychiatric ward the week before, asking to see the inmate who had sung in the bog. After that, he was gone. No body, no resignation, no trace. The camp filed paperwork. The North swallowed another name. 10 years after Daniel Poole vanished, Walter had a dream. In it, someone knocked on the cabin door in the middle of the night. Not frantic, not weak. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Walter opened the door. Daniel stood on the threshold. His uniform coat hung heavy and soaked, dripping black water onto the wooden steps. His face was pale, not with death, but with absence. The skin stretched tight over sharp bones. Dark crescents hollowed his eyes, and there was peat tangled in his hair. "Where have you been?" Walter asked. Daniel stepped inside. His movements were stiff, as if his joints did not belong to him anymore. He sat at the table without invitation. Walter poured rye into 2 tin cups, cut bread, set it down. Daniel picked up a slice, held it to his nose. Then he spoke. "It's all true," he said, his voice thick and wet. "Svarn, the bell, the chapel." Walter could not breathe. Daniel covered the cup with bread, as if sealing something inside it. "You'll find me," he said. "From the old bridge, go north. You'll understand what to do." Walter shook his head. Daniel's eyes locked onto his. "Go on Easter." "Why Easter?" "On Easter the bells are forbidden." Then he stood and walked out. Walter woke with his heart hammering against his ribs. The cabin door was closed, but the floorboards were damp. He told no one, not Irene, not Arthur Cole. When Easter came, Walter borrowed Arthur's sidecar motorcycle and rode south before dawn. He left it near the skeletal remains of Bracken Ford and continued on foot. In one hand he carried a shovel, in the other an iron hook. The forest was loud at first. Grouse calls, wind in spruce, distant cracking branches. Then it wasn't. The silence descended like a lid. He walked by memory, or instinct, or something else. The bog opened before him. A low mist clung to the peat, and there, beneath a thin veil of green moss, lay Daniel Poole. Not decomposed, not consumed, preserved. His skin blackened like cured leather, his fingers twisted inside stiff sleeves. His coat is still wet. No rain had fallen in weeks. Walter understood. Daniel had lain in the peat for years, oxygen-starved, frozen, sealed. A bog body, a relic. And recently something had lifted him out, laid him there, waiting. Walter did not pray. He dug. They buried Daniel beneath alder trees near the village. No marker, no official record. The North keeps its own archives. Walter told Irene it had been a dream. She pretended to believe him. The explorers returned the following year, and the year after that. Each time asking about the Black Chapel. Each time leaving disappointed. Claire came back too, determined, certain. Walter saw it in her eyes. The hunger that Daniel once had. The need to explain what does not want to be explained. That spring, on Easter morning, Walter rode south again. The bells did not ring. They never do on Easter. The body lay waiting in the clearing, blackened, curled. Claire Bennett. Her camera strap was still around her neck. Walter worked until dusk, dragging her back through the trees. The older he grew, the harder it became. But the bog always gives one back. One per year. Never more, never less. He does not know why. He only knows the pattern. 20 Easters now. 20 peat black figures laid carefully upon the moss. Daniel was the first. Claire was the fifth. There are others. All buried under alder and spruce not far from Grey Hollow. Arthur believes Walter goes south to fish alone. Irene knows better. She crosses herself every Easter and says nothing. Sometimes, when the wind is wrong, Walter imagines what lies beneath the peat, 3 meters down, under compressed layers of drowned moose, foxes, and wolves, under centuries of slow decay. He imagines the Black Chapel still standing, intact. Its beams are crooked. Its root cross twists toward a sky no one sees. Its windows are glowing faint blue, corpse lights flickering behind warped frames. Waiting for the year Walter is too slow, waiting for the bells to ring again. When they do, he knows what will happen. The birds will stop, the light will dim, and the North will remember what it tried to forget.